Martinez has 4 doubles. He put the double deuce down. He's got 3 left. Even though he's the hand, has such a bad hand that he knows that along the way he's going to have to give it up.
Look at this move by Mullings. The 1-6. He cuts the ace, opens it up for
His own sixes.
Martinez. He's basically saying, "Hey, Merry Christmas. Here you go."
Yeah, Martinez just can't believe he's gotten rid of 2 doubles right away, including
Jackson
the big
with the 6-4. That's a no choice.
Yeah.
Has no deuces. Tejeda with the 4-3.
So for Blue to win this game, for Tejeda and Martinez to win this game, Martinez has to manage the doubles, which is doing fine right now, and he has to play for Tejeda.
Exactly.
Even though Martinez right now is the hand, chances are he'll have to pass along the way, and he knows it.
And Tejeda's there to pick it up. I love Martinez's technique. He's just so focused. 3 deuce.
Awesome.
Opens up the trays.
Now, Tejeda knows he has the last 4 threes. So he's going to run this game as long as Martinez cooperates.
Mullings deliberating whether he's going to go with the 2-4, the 2-6, the 2-5. Goes with the deuce 4.
He cuts the deuce.
Deuce
that Tejeda
opens
opened
up the 4. Martinez has a no choice. He cuts the 4, opens up the blanks.
And I think that quick move of Martinez says, this is a no-choice play.
Let me just keep it moving.
Jackson passes for the 3rd time in 4 turns. See, he's just basically saying, this is just not my hand.
Sometimes it beats like that.
It's certainly, I mean, when the hand puts down their play and you have nothing to play with 7 tiles to go, it hurts.
He's just hoping this game's over. Martinez passes.
See, that's the pass that he was anticipating. But he's okay. He knows Tejeda is going to squeeze everybody on the table with his 3s.
Jackson cuts the 5. Opens up the 4. Tejeda is looking and saying, okay, it's either the tray 5 or the tray ace or the tray 6. He's full of trays.
Right, but the question is how many aces are on the table. And at that point, there were only 2.
And Mullings passes. Martinez is calculating exactly what you were just talking about right now.
Yep, he's figuring out now. Okay, I've got the 1 ace to play. I have also, I already played the 4 ace, so I also have the double blank.
He's got the double blank, the 1 blank. We'll see what he's going to go with. 1 in one corner of the table, 4 on the other. Martinez deciding. He goes with the 1 blank, opens up the blanks.
He knows his teammate has so many 3s that he can afford not to worry about a double blank. Double blank, if he gets caught up with that, it doesn't matter.
That's nothing, yeah. Double 4 from Jackson. Tejeda's going to have to pass. He's got no 4s. Only had 1 4 with the tray 4 he played earlier.
Paso.
Martinez passes after Mullings throws a no choice of blank 6.
Now, Jackson has a choice here. He can go 6-5
or 4-1.
or the 4 ace.
And he's deliberating. I mean, it is a math game.
There are 4 6s on the table.
And there's
And
3
Jackson
6s still not in play. So
would be giving up his last 6. So I think he's going to hang on to the 6 and just play the 4 ace.
well, we shall see.
He doesn't want to help the opponent. And as a matter of fact,
And they
Tejeda
really
has
need to win this. I mean, they're behind.
Tejeda has a 6-3 to play. And Mullings has a 6-2. He just doesn't know who's got the 6.
Exactly. It's Jackson is going to go.
He knows it's not Martinez because he already passed.
So he's going to go with the 4 ace, open up the ace, keep away from that 6, a 6 tray. By Tejeda's a no choice. He has no.
And Mullings has to pass. Martinez
Paso.
wants to make sure, did you pass? He says, yes, I passed. And now, you know what?
Martinez is regrouping and says,
Yeah,
you know what?
double
Let's
ace.
get rid of the double ace.
Jackson plays
The
five ace,
5-1.
and Tejeda
Tejeda wins with the
wraps
five
up with a
tray.
5 tray. The
Nicely
blue
done by Tejeda
ends the
Martinez.
game with a domino. Blue acquires another 36 points. And let's take a look at Tejeda's.
Tejeda's move. One of the threes, the tray ace.
See, at this point, he knows, I'm going to cut my own tray, but I'm going to open up the ones. The domino's going to come back to me, and he wrapped up. Blue now wins 137 to nothing. We return to Kissimmee, Florida, site of the USA Domino Federation Open.
Dominoes is such an ancient game that its history cannot be accurately dated. All we know is that it's been played worldwide for centuries.
Domino tiles or bones were most likely born when somebody put two die together side by side.
Let's look at the history of this game.
The game of dominoes is part of the Latin American culture, but it finds its roots on the other side of the globe. Historians agree that this now popular game began in China as a military tool. The Chinese found inspiration for the design by putting 2 and 2 together, 2 dice, that is, side by side.
Los orígenes del dominó proceden en principio de China, donde allí ya empezaron a desarrollarlo como una estrategia militar.
Merchants and traders rapidly spread dominoes around the world.
En la época de Marco Polo se supone que fueron en una de sus campañas que lo trajo a Europa. En Italia se añadió la doble blanca que completó el número del 7, que es el 7 el número mágico del dominó.
Soon the game was the toast of Europe and the New World.
Nosotros también hemos sido a su vez exportadores de dominó a través pues, de las Indias hacia la época, pues hacia el Caribe, de todos los países hermanos.
The rules of the game spread by word of mouth. The oldest known manual dates to 1872 and is currently on display in Valencia, Spain.
Este es el libro más antiguo que hay de dominó, con lo antiguo pues, que está muy especificado qué es lo que quiere y cómo se juega el dominó claramente.
Originally made of bones, ivory, and ebony, domino pieces were a novel alternative to playing cards. More resistant to humidity, perfect for overseas travel.
Dominoes came to Jamaica from the British. It came here with the sailors. The sailors started to play the domino on the boats.
Hoy en día utilizan unas resinas que es casi imposible de marcar y de rayar, con lo cual no se pueden identificar.
The domino effect converts people into aficionados on a daily basis. Today, dominoes remains one of the most popular games in the world, bridging cultural and social classes alike.
Es una oportunidad para socializar. El doctor puede jugar con el que recoge la basura, con el limpiabotas, con la gente humilde.
El dominó tiene un valor social incalculable.
El dominó es un elemento extraordinario para unión, para compenetración, para desarrollo, sobre todo para flujos personales entre las personas. El dominó es una máquina de hacer amigos.
The blue team is comfortably ahead. We're in the 4th hand of the second semifinal. 137 to nothing is the blue lead. Let's take a look at the hands.
Blue team has 5 of 7 blanks. Red team has 5 of 7 ones. Mullings has no deuces and 3 doubles.
Yeah, Mullins has no choice.
Jackson starts it off with the double tray.
He's the hand. That's his only double.
Tejeda cuts the tray. Tray blank
And Mullins cuts the blank.
with a blank 4. Martinez with a tray deuce.
He cuts Jackson's tray, so now Jackson has a choice here to double up, square to the 2, or square to the 4. He
And
decides to square
squares
to the 4. Jackson has no other 4s,
And he squared to the 4.
And he had other twos, but I guess he saw Martinez break out the twos and decided to just
and
cut that
decided,
off.
yeah, let me cut this guy off. Tejeda with the 4-6. Mullings with the double 4.
Why?
Extends the 4.
Why? He has a double 6. He's got the big 6.
You know, and that's one of the key things. When you have the doubles, get rid of them early on.
Now, here's what happens. Mullins had 3 6s in his hand, and he felt, let me keep the 3 6s. Not if you have the big 6. You get rid of it. By giving up the double 4, the big 4, he gave up his only 4.
Yep.
Not a good move.
I don't think Mullins is in sync. Deuce ace by
Mullins
Tejeda.
passes.
Mullins has
Because
to
he
pass
has
him.
no 4s.
Of course.
He gave up the 4 in the last turn.
That's why he should have played that 6.
Now, Martinez has a lot of thinking to do here. He's got options. He can go with a 4 tray. He can go with a 4 ace. He can go with the deuce blank. I think if he goes with a deuce blank,
Or the double deuce.
it would be the 5th blank, and it so happens that his teammate has the last 2. Now, there's no way right now for him to know that. He knows that Tejeda opened up with a 3 blank, a tray blank. So he's going with that hunch.
He opened up the
Jackson
blanks.
passes,
Jackson passes.
which is the hand. So the hand now is Tejeda.
Tejeda
Brilliant
with
move of
the
Martinez.
4-5. Opens up the 5s. Cuts the 4. Mullings has to go with the 6-5. He has no choice. Has no blanks. Martinez passes.
Meanwhile,
6-2 by Jackson is no choice. No blanks.
The blanks are out there. Tejeda's not going to get rid of the double blank. He's squeezing them. He's got the last
Right now,
blank.
Martinez already knows his partner Tejeda has the last blanks.
Mullings with the double deuce.
Since that was
Martinez
Martinez.
with a double deuce. Jackson with the 5 deuce. And Tejeda simply has to figure out, okay, I'm going to lock it up. Plenty of 6s left, but he only had one more tile, the 6 tray. And when you add them up, the blue team adds 70 points. And now they lead 207 to nothing.
Let's look at this replay here. Martinez with the deuce blank. Cuts the deuce, opens up the blank.
And that was his teammate's strength. He didn't know that he sensed it. Great intuition.
He was fishing and he was right.
And now let's join Claudia in the set. 207 to nothing. Blue leads red.
The stands are full of domino fans. There's a lot of tension in this room. Every single one of the fans has a favorite team, and at this point in time, they're rooting for them.
Welcome back to the USA Domino Federation Open from Kissimmee, Florida.
We have another tip for you to develop your mental skills. You want to always retrace the sequence in which each tile was laid on the table and who laid it. Now back to the action. Alvaro?
Fifth hand in this second semifinal. The blue team of Martinez and Tejeda up with a comfortable 207 to nothing lead. Let's take a look at the hands.
Blue team has 5 of 7 trays. Red team has 5 of 7 6s. Jackson has no 5s.
Tejeda is the hand. He's got 2 doubles. It happens that 3 is his strong suit, so he opens up with a double tray.
Mullins with a tray 6. No choice. It's his only tray.
Interestingly enough, huh?
You know, this game is really close. Close to being over, that is.
Well, remember, they need 300 points, or an hour has to go by. So with 207 points, they're close.
The blue team is in control. 6-5.
Martinez cuts the opponent's 6 and opens up the 5s.
Jackson with the tray blank.
It's a no-choice play. It cuts Tejeda. Nobody knows, though, that that was a no choice.
Jackson has no more 5s, or no more trays for that matter. Tejeda's trying to figure. I mean, it's early in the game. He's just gonna get rid of that blank, that double blank.
He has another. He's got the blank 6 to play, so he figures let's get rid of it now.
Sure, get rid of those doubles early. Blank 5 by Mullings. Martinez has to go with that 5 trade. That's no
And
choice.
Jackson passes. No trays. Now, Tejeda knows he's got 2 out of the last 3 trays. Martinez knows he's got one
tray. They don't know that they're the ones in control yet.
They need to know if Mullins has it. So this is a key play right here.
This is what right here. That's 5-4. Tejeda knows he's got 2 of the last trays.
Now, Mullins is he's got plenty of choices, but he gets rid of the big 4. Now, Martinez now can open up, can square the tray. By doing so, he might be jumping the gun early and actually
Forcing
making life
those
difficult for
trays out.
Tejeda to deploy his trays.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know if it's Mullins that has one of those trays. So
But he knows Jackson doesn't have it.
Right, he knows that much. So he's going to be, I think he's going to be conservative and play the 4 deuce and hang on to the tray until he knows for sure that it's his teammate that has the other 2 trays, and then
Right now
they
he's
can
doing
run
a
the
little
table.
fishing. He's not sure if Mullins has any more trays, but he knows he's got 1 left. We're not sure if Tejeda does, but Tejeda does know he has the last 2 trays, or the
2 out of the last 3.
3 trays.
So, yep, he went conservative.
There you go. He absolutely right.
Which is rare for Martinez. He's a very aggressive player.
Yeah, but he's also very calculated.
Yes, yes. And Jackson has no choice but to put the 6 deuce.
6.
Tejeda now gets rid of his last blank.
6 blank opens up the blanks. Mullings passes. Now Martinez knows.
Exactly. Now both Martinez and Tejeda know.
They control the trays.
Own the trays. And I'm going to keep that tray there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look for the possibility to square the trays.
Let's babysit that for a little while.
Let's just play anything you can until you have a chance to square to the tray and absolutely squeeze the opponents.
And they can take their time. Like you said before, it's either 1 hour or 300 points, and right now they have 207. Blue team's in a great position.
So they really are in no rush to play, as you well explained. And here comes the
Martinez.
And Jackson immediately passes because he doesn't have any time to lose. He's losing.
Yep. Now Tejeda with the 2 tray, solidifying exactly what Martinez believed.
Yep. Mullins has to pass, no trays. Martinez gives up the last tray he has.
And it's
so
no
it's a matter
choice.
of Tejeda running the table and locking it up, blocking the game by choice. There
1
he goes.
tray, say goodnight.
Yep. And listen to this. Mullins has a 6-4, the big 5, and 2 other 5s. Mullins just couldn't work on his 5s, and the blue team wins 66 points in Game 5. Now they take the lead 273-0.
Here's that replay by Martinez, the 4 deuce. Instead of squaring to the tray.
With the 4 tray, a brilliant move. The blue team is going to try to advance to the finals coming up next. We return to Kissimmee, Florida with the USA Domino Federation Open. The game of dominoes attracts new fans all over the country. The hip and the young are falling hard for it.
Dímelo, mi gente, que lo que hay. It's your man Tony Touch, aquí representando on the #1 sports channel,
ESPN Deportes, you heard me?
The illest sports channel on TV. Tell a friend.
See, dominoes is a game of strategy. It's a thinking man's game. You can't just play randomly. You gotta play 3 turns ahead.
Dominoes! That's part of our culture, you know what I mean? The lane culture is playing dominoes.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Butch Rock. Checking out ESPN Deportes, the best sports channel in the hood.
La Casa del Dominoes.
ESPN Deportes.
Yo soy Nori, representando Boricua.
I love dominoes.
On a hand basis, the blue team leads red 5-0. On a score basis, on a points basis, it's 273-0. Mullins takes a little break, returns to the table. And we have a hand that really favors red.
The red has to step it up. Let's look at the hands. Blue has 3 doubles, no zeros. Red team has 5 of 7 trays and 5 of 7 blanks.
So this is a hand that red should win. They're also the hand Mullings opens up with a double tray.
Martinez with a tray 5, and that's no choice. That's the only tray Martinez has.
A sign of a weak hand. Jackson, of course, extends the 3, covers up his opponent's 5.
Opens up the deuce.
Tejeda cuts, and then he squares to the deuce. Very aggressive move early on.
And he's got a couple of deuces to play.
Yep.
So he's good.
He's got 2 more to play, and the double deuce.
No, actually, he has 1 more to play. He played the 3.
Now,
deuce.
Martinez made a mistake here. Martinez doesn't know that Tejeda has the double deuce, as we see Tejeda pass. Tejeda has the double deuce, and Martinez basically just cut him off, at least for the moment.
That's okay. They could get a little risky. They're way ahead.
And you get this feeling that the same aggressiveness you saw in the early hands with this kind of a lead is gone, both in the urgency with which they play and in the aggressiveness with which they play.
They could really milk it. They could control this board.
Or they could lose 10 points at a time.
And not
by
worry
hand.
at all. Tejeda's going with the 4-6, opens up the 6. Cuts
That was
the
a
4.
no choice.
Has no trays. 6-1 by Mullins. Mullins is staying away from those trays as well, even though he still has one out there.
Martinez can go with a 5 ace or the 4 ace. But he probably will go with the 5 ace because he already broke out the 5. And he has the 5-4 also in his hand. So he'll probably want to show his strength again.
The ace-4 or the 5 ace.
Especially now that Tejada had to pass.
Opens up the 5, cuts the ace.
And Jackson passes as a result.
Has no trays or 5s.
Now Tejada has a choice. An interesting hand he has left. The big 6, the big 5, and the 6-5. Now you would think, well, he can't drop the big 6.
But he's got the double 5 or the 5.
But there are so many 6s already out on the table.
He gets rid of the double 5.
4 of them that he gets rid of the double 5.
Mullins is deliberating.
He's
used already his.
He's got the tray ace,
his tray
and the
1.
5 blank which he uses. And that sets up Martinez. See, this is now Martinez will play the 6 blank. He should have played that earlier. Still makes Jackson pass. Tejeda will probably take no time in getting rid of the big 6.
Very lucky.
But really, Mullins is in
by
control.
Mullins because he has no 6. 1-4 by Martinez. He has no 6.
He started with 3 trays, and he's basically milking them all the way to victory. I think they're going to get their first points.
Jackson could already play the 4 deuce or the 4 blank, so we'll see what he plays.
He probably figures his teammate has the double blank.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling he's going to go for the 4 blank. Yep.
And he does.
Tejeda will have no choice. At least he gets rid of 11 points.
Yeah.
And Mullins
Cuts
wins.
the 6, opens up the 5.
Yeah, the red team wins their first hand in this semifinal, and they earn 33 points. And
Martinez is scolding Tejeda about his 3 deuce.
The 3 deuce. He says, you know, instead of scoring to the deuce and being aggressive, you should have gotten rid of your double deuce.
Mm-hmm.
That's called 20/20 hindsight.
That's
Although he's
cool.
saying, let's be conservative now. Let's take a look at this play, the key play of the game.
And it's funny, they're so ahead of the red team, yet Martinez is so passionate.
Correctly assumed that his teammate had the double blank. He opens up the blank, allows the red team to get on the scoreboard, but it's still 273-33 blue.
And we're back with the USA Domino Federation Open with one more tip for you. When possible, try not to yield a suit. You can do this by not playing that one tile, which you have no more numbers of. Back to the action.
Well, it looks like Mullins' bathroom break in the prior hand really worked. They finally broke the streak, scored the first points. Let's see if they can now rally. They're done by 240 points. Let's take a look at the hands.
Alvaro, the blue team has 5 of 7 sixes. The red team has 5 of 7 fours. Mullins has 4 blanks.
Martinez is the hand. He opens up with a double deuce. Interesting. Again, Jackson has had just terrible luck in drawing tiles.
This is a no choice.
A no choice in your first offering on the table.
He has no more deuces after this.
Tejedas wisely avoids the deuce side of the table, his teammates. Now, Mullins has the deuce blank, the deuce one, the 6 deuce. No!
And he goes with the cuts the tray and
Why?
opens up all those deuces that he has.
He should have cut the deuce. He should have gotten covered that double deuce you see on the screen,
Of
the
course.
upper part of your screen.
It's early on in the game. But Mullins is definitely out to lunch.
He's greedy. He wanted to break out the blanks. He has 4 blanks, but he had the deuce blank. He could have covered the deuce and broken the blanks.
But poor Mullins. Martinez here on the prowl.
Interesting
Cuts
enough,
the deuce, opens up the 5.
He blocks his own deuce, but he's sending a signal. Hey, I've got 5s. He does indeed. He's got the 6-5 and the 5 blank.
Double 5 by Jackson. Extends the 5s.
There, that leaves well enough alone. He doesn't touch the 5.
Opens up the 6.
Yep.
Cuts the blank. 6 deuce by Mullins. This is a no choice.
And that tells everybody I don't have any 5s. I'm supposed to be cutting down the 5s. I didn't do it. I don't have any 5s.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I wasn't there.
So we're going to see what Martinez comes up with. And Martinez again, focus. The 3 C's. Calm, cool, and calculated.
He's got, again, choices here. You can go with a 5 blank or the 5-6.
Or the deuce tray.
The deuce tray, correct.
And he goes with the 5-6. Cuts the 5. Opens up the 6.
By the way, he saw his teammate in the earlier turn open up the 6s. So he's reading that his teammate has a lot of 6s. He's going with that
He's
intuition.
trying to help him out.
Yeah.
6 ace.
It's a no choice, but he actually does
By
the right
Jackson.
thing, which is to cut off the 6s. Now, Tejeda has the big 6, by the way. He knows it. It's burning a hole in his mind.
In his pocket.
Oh, in his mind, for sure. And Jackson, by putting a no-choice 6 ace, just ruined that one opportunity to get rid of it.
Is he going with the 1-5 or the 1 tray? The 1 tray by Tejeda opens up the tray.
He saved that 5. He has one more tray, the 6 tray.
Mullins is going to play on the 2 side because he doesn't have trays. He spent his last one, or his first one, a couple of plays ago. Deuce blank.
The reason why he went blank is because he has 2 more blanks. He's opening up his strength.
Sure. So Martinez is thinking blank 5 or tray deuce.
And you know, if he gives up the blank 5, he opens up the 5s, which is not his strength. And he's giving up his only blank and letting Mullins and everybody else on this table know Mullins can run this table with his blanks. This is a key play.
That's why he's the way he is intense about it. He's counting the bones right now. He needs to know who's got what, who doesn't have what, and what he needs to put on the table. And he goes with the blank 5.
Which I think in hindsight again, and without him knowing, the benefit of knowing who has what, it's a mistake. But there's no way for him to know that. Blocking the blank that Mullins put. He basically cut Mullins' move. But Mullins has 2 more, and he has the last 2.
Sure.
Now, the one thing he did do by doing the 5 blank, by putting it down on the table, is that there's now no way that Mullins can square to the blanks.
That's
that
correct.
has been prevented.
3-5 by Jackson. He squares to the 5s.
So from that point of view, Martinez's move is actually
Tejeda's
useful.
forced to play his 5-1. No choice. Mullins with the 1 blank. Martinez has to pass. Jackson's only move is the 5-4 there.
So his idea to squeeze the 5s out backfired.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it did.
And now Mullins will essentially lock it up here with the 4 blank